Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. From fun and dumb to holy moly, shut the front door. This mix of 7 different court clips is a melting pot, a little bit of everything, and should help you survive the weekend. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Your Honor, my car is not moving. Just not that you're too concerned, but I'm just at my son's football practice. But I didn't want you to think I was flouting the rules and driving.
No, I can see the trees behind you are stationary. So
Yes, sir.
unless you got some really, really good CGI going there, I accept that you're not driving.
It's actually it's a good idea.
Okay, and we have we've got both counsel connected, so let's go on.
Thank you. Do you have an email address?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
It's all lowercase. It is EATMAA.
All right, I'm sorry. Say the beginning of it. The microphone cut out.
All right. EATMAASS.
And then your phone number ends in 67.
Next, Your Honor, in courtroom 2 is going to be position number 4, Christopher Crosby.
Mr. Christopher Crosby is accused of battery family violence, September 4th, 2024, under accusation 24 CR 6308F. Mr. Crosby, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Any priors?
Tracy, tell me you got first arrest. Hopefully they didn't mess up all my histories.
I do have first arrest.
Okay. And yes, please.
Yes. So in this case where the defendant is accused of slapping his boyfriend, Austin James, several times in the face during a verbal altercation, this did cause swelling and bruising to the victim. The defendant also bit the victim on his arm. When officers arrived at the incident location, they observed the defendant chasing the victim. The parties were apparently doing DoorDash deliveries when the incident occurred. Our office has spoken with the victim, Mr. James, who states that him and the defendant were in a relationship and they do not live together. So this charge will be amended to just a battery charge. He confirmed the events in the warrant and stated that the defendant also kicked the front windshield of his motor vehicle. He stated this is not the first time they have had violence, but this is the first time the police have been involved and he wants no contact. Given that this is the defendant's first arrest, the state will recommend a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the victim's residence, anger awareness, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for the victim, Mr. Austin James.
Mr. James, if you're on Zoom. I don't know. Don't see any. Okay. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 23 years old. They were, in fact, in a relationship. Then they were doing DoorDash. His position is almost the opposite, that the aggressor was the alleged victim, and I believe it's Mr. James, and that he was acting to the extent he was in acting physically at all. It was in self-defense. We have no objection to the conditions of the bond. We would be asking for a signature bond through the jail, and we would object to, other than that, we would object to the anger management.
So this dispute occurred inside a car while both of them were on DoorDash deliveries. Is that the situation?
Yes, that is my understanding.
Delivering food.
Correct.
So when you deliver food and you knock on the door and someone opens, they'll see you all bruised and bloodied. Who's going to touch food like that? My goodness, that doesn't sound good. Okay, anyways, for Mr. Crosby, that's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further contact with Austin James. No more joint work projects like DoorDash with Austin James. You cannot be within 200 yards of Mr. James. You cannot communicate with him in any way, form, or manner, including third party or discussing him on social media. You're to report to pretrial once a month, and you're to stay away from wherever Mr. James happens to be standing, working, or living.
Yes,
Your
Your
next
Honor.
court date is going to be sent to you at your current mailing address. So you need to update the court with your current mailing address within 48 hours of being released.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
It's either me to take it or him to take it, but let's see who we got here.
He wanted me to reiterate too that he doesn't really mind what happens to bond. His is at the same as it was prior, but
All right. Good afternoon, sir. Are you Thomas David Blair?
Yes, sir.
I'm Judge Middleton. I'm here at the courthouse. The file number here is 24808 FY.
Yes, sir.
With me is the Chief Public Defender, Mr. Keith Stickley. Let me get back into your case. This is a felony warrant that alleges that on or about February 7th, that you uttered and published a forged check purportedly to Matt Skinner at I think it was at a different place. One of the convenience stores in Three Rivers. Then there was a second check in the amount of $245. You're charged as a fourth habitual offender. You were arrested on this matter back in June, and then you bonded out and you failed to appear for your arraignment. So the bond was set in the amount of $5,000 cash or surety. You had an address. A lot of people use that address. It's the Maze address. Brianna told me she was at that address today. How did you come to get arrested last night?
I was helping my buddy move stuff out of the garage, and Val Ghost was there, and they seen her, and they came to get her, and I was there.
All right, so they came to get Bell Ghost and they picked you up also?
Yeah. My address.
All right, now I'm not sure what's going on, but I need to get the case back on track. I'm going to set a pre-exam conference for September 17th at 8:30 and a prelim, if needed, for September 24th. And we'll appoint counsel for you. The public defender will. Are you working somewhere?
Yes, sir.
Where's that?
Forest River.
Well, why didn't you come back to court? You posted a bond and then never showed up.
I was living in Grand Rapids, sir. Sorry. And my car broke down there. I was living in Wyoming, Michigan, and my car broke down on the way to here. I called your office and told them my car, I was on my way to court.
I don't believe you're working at Forest River. Which plant are you at?
The White Pigeon, 210.
When did you start there?
Like 2 weeks ago.
But then you never bothered to come back to court?
I should have, for sure.
Well, yeah, and I don't believe that you work at Forest River.
I've worked at Forest River several times.
Yeah, but you're homeless, living in your car in Grand Rapids. All of a sudden now you're employed.
No, sir, I wasn't living in my car in Grand Rapids. I had a house.
All right. Well, I'd set the bond at $5,000. It's a fourth habitual offender. This isn't the crime of the century. You forged or allegedly forged and passed 2 false checks. So just a second. Yeah, that was back in July. Triple Creek Convenience. So between July and September, you just never bothered to.
I called, sir.
Well, yeah, we don't do telephone felony arraignments by telephone. You need to come into the courthouse. You may have called and said, hey, I'm gonna be late. So I issued a bench warrant with a 48-hour hold to give you 2 days to come deal with it, and then you didn't. So then a warrant issued. The original bond was 3,000, 10%. The new one's 5,000. Who else lives at?
I'm staying, sir, that's an old address. I'm staying.
Who do you live there with?
The landlord's name is Carrie. There's Cynthia lives there, Carrie, and Ross.
Is that where you got picked up with Bell Ghost, or was that over on Middle Street?
No, that was on Middle Street. I was helping Jim May. The house is condemned and they were having to move the stuff out of the garage.
Well, I asked that of this morning. I said, I thought that house was condemned. And she said, no, I'm still living there.
Yeah, they gotta get everything out of that garage by like next month, so.
I would have moved you out and moved somebody else in, but it's easier when we're using these Polycom rooms and jail staff to just leave you there. We're trying to confirm your employment. Let's see what I can find out here. Do you have any holds on you from anywhere else?
I think I have a child support warrant out of here.
Yeah, you do. Also child support warrant.
I called and I tried every extension and I always got voicemail, so I don't know.
All right, we can't confirm one way or the other. I'm gonna return the bond to its original status. Not 5,000, but 3,000 cash or surety, not 10%. You have a hold on you for child support as it is. So we'll explore further whether you're really working there or not. If you're not, you and I are gonna have further discussion of it, but your pre-exam is set for September 17th at 8:30. All right, Mr. Black. Yes,
sir. I'm not working there, sir.
All right.
I was hoping to get bond because honestly, sir, my life's going to hell. I'm addicted to heroin.
Yeah, okay, don't tell me anymore.
I apologize. I have worked there. And
Yeah, you're not working there. All right, I don't think you're gonna, well, you're not gonna post it anyway, but you were jerking my chain, but you redeemed yourself by telling me the truth. I was gonna set it at about $10 million when I confirmed that you weren't working there, but 3,000 cash or surety, and there's a hold. Someone will be appointed to represent you, and we'll see you on September 17th.
I apologize, sir.
All right, good luck, Mr. Blair.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we're on the record in case number 24-2665 SM. Mr. Flowers, you're appearing for arraignment purposes this morning, and you're appearing with your attorney, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, did you have opportunity to review the allegations on the complaint, nature of the offense, and the possible maximum penalties with your client?
I have. He will waive a formal reading and stand mute and ask the court to enter a not guilty plea.
Thank you. And you also had an opportunity to review his rights.
Yes, he understands his right.
Thank you. So the next step in the process, the pretrial conference in this case, would be scheduled for September 24th. It's at 9:30 a.m. Mr. Williams, is that date good for you?
Give me 1 second here. This case has some unique issues. Let me see here. You say the 22nd or 24th?
24th. Yes.
I have. We could. Can I just explain a circumstance here with his situation? He
Sure. Looks like we lost you. Me or him?
Prior. Sorry.
We lost you there for a moment, Mr. Williams. Could you repeat from the beginning of the circumstances you'd like to explain?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So prior to this incident, he doesn't live in Michigan. I think he lived with New Jersey. I don't remember, Luke. Is that what state?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Sorry, I knew it was east somewhere. So I guess New Jersey's not east technically. Anyhow, he got into a tragic accident. There was a death. He has to turn himself in on the 30th of September to avoid a mandatory prison sanction, but he's still going to go to prison. And he'll be in prison for probably 3 years. So even if we schedule a pretrial, he won't be available thereafter for a final status. So I'm asking in this circumstance, whatever we schedule, if we could do it by Zoom, it would be really difficult and a hardship for his family to get him back here to Michigan, to turn him back into Pittsburgh 2 days later. So he will be in prison by the time his final status comes. And so that's the circumstance. So I'm just trying to explain to you the dynamic of what we're dealing with. Is everyone there still?
Well, yes, could you put that in writing as a stip and order, please, Mr. Williams? So that the judge would be aware of the circumstances.
Yeah.
And under those circumstances, I suspect that the stip and order would be approved for a Zoom pretrial conference. And maybe final conference, or however it is that, the case is going to proceed.
Okay. Yeah, then I will. Thank you. I just wanted to talk that through. I could do that.
Okay. So boy, the 26th.
Yeah, we'll go with the earlier date. I will figure it out. I don't want him to be in a stressful situation. So
well, let's go for the 26th. We know on the 24th that you would not be available if the trial goes. So let's do the 26th. So let's schedule it then for the 24th. That would give that extra couple days. Okay.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Mr. Flowers, I want to verify contact information with you, please. Sir, what's your phone number? And your mailing address? Where do you receive your regular mail?
Through that Gmail.
No, U.S. Postal Service?
Sorry, yeah.
Pennsylvania?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Williams, do you have any questions concerning bond?
I would just simply ask that he just complies with his current bond. He lives a great distance. He has no ties to Michigan. He was only here through a dating relationship that was met online. He has, no reason to come back here. And frankly, he'll be in prison here, or he'll be incarcerated awaiting a sentence to go to prison at the end of the month. So I would just ask that there be a PR bond and follow the conditions of his current bond where he resides.
Sure. So Mr. Flowers, I'm going to continue the bond with all of the same terms and conditions. Make sure that you understand how important it is that you're in full compliance, as these terms and conditions are in LEAN, the Law Enforcement Information Network. The court will mail you the notice regarding the date and time of the pretrial conference, and Mr. Williams, I'm certain, will be in touch with you with regard to how it is that you'll make that appearance. Mr. Williams, do you have anything further?
No, have a nice day. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you for your appearance this morning, and gentlemen, you are free to leave the meeting.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gregory Vaughn is accused of battery, family violence from August 7th of 2024, 24 CR 6320B. Mr. Vaughn, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and you have a right to counsel, who is going to be Mr. McLean. Mr. Howard, any priors?
2023 FTA. Got an open case, 23 SC 187352. Financial identity fraud and forgery. 2023 battery DV dismissed. 2019 simple battery DV conviction.
Battery DV conviction in 2019?
Simple battery.
Oh, simple battery. Okay. All right.
Simple battery DV conviction. Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Just want to be sure. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident is a delayed arrest. This is an incident that occurred on August the 7th. Police were called to at about 11 a.m. They spoke to the victim. Her name is Jaliyah, Jaliyah. Last name is Martin. I believe she's joined us on the Zoom. She reports that they share a child. Officer Pitts was who initially responded. She reported that morning the defendant had assaulted her after accusing her of sleeping with a friend. A verbal argument escalated when he grabbed her by her neck. She was asked questions about whether she lost consciousness, and she denied that she lost consciousness when talking to the police at the scene. She said once she was released by the defendant, she ran to the bedroom window and screamed for help. She saw a neighbor outside working in the yard. She also said that the defendant left the location and took her purse, but that took her cell phone, but that he returned to the location and gave it back to her. He was no longer on scene when police were there. She did also report that he'd taken the only key to the location, and she'd notified the landlord, who was going to come change the locks. She also provided demographic information for this young man and identified him for police. Photos were taken of some scratches that were on her neck. A DV investigator reviewed this case, saw that there'd been a prior incident that included a claim of being strangled, similar to this one, and obtained a warrant. So although it looks like maybe Mrs. Martin told the police when she called and asked for help that she didn't want to press charges, this case is moving forward and was moved forward at that time. The defendant was picked up on outstanding warrants, Your Honor. The 2023 23 CR 008 461B is actually an assault that was against the same victim. It was null prost on June the 6th of 2024, literally because we were unable to get the victim, Mrs. Martin, to come to court. And that is the only reason why it was null prost. In fact, when I listened to the jail call between the two of these young people that occurred this morning at about 4 a.m., they discussed that she needed to come down here and talk to someone about making this case go away. And she told him, even though she was exasperated by the request, I got you out last time and I'll get you out this time too. She explained to the defendant that she didn't get a warrant against him. And she told him, I told you what I did. They do share a child, Your Honor. We've been in touch with the victim today. Again, she has changed her position since she spoke to police. So obviously she's following the directive of the gentleman that you're having in front of you, which is actually a felony, suborning perjury. It's a felony. So this is a crime that continues, and why jail calls are so valuable, Your Honor. So today she reported that two unknown men knocked her unconscious on the street, and she only told the police that the defendant grabbed her by the neck because she was mad at him for not being there. She did acknowledge that they have a prior case and said it was dismissed. So we're asking for a $4,000 surety bond, Your Honor, absolutely no contact with Mrs. Martin or the child they share, and to stay away from the location, which is her residence. And again, that location is, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. Let's see now. First, let me talk to Jalea Martin if she wants to contribute to the proceedings. Miss Martin, you have to remove the child, give the child somebody else. All right. Raise your screen so we can see your face and remove your hat.
One moment.
All right. Raise your device so we can see your face. Okay. Do you have something to add to this proceedings?
Yes, ma'am. That day I was like,
Raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to tell us?
That day I did go unconscious. I was afraid to tell the man who it was that actually did it. And when he asked me for emergency contact, I gave him my baby's father's name. I didn't say anybody else's name, so I guess he thought that that's who I was talking about, who did this to me. I was assaulted and robbed with my daughter. My baby father was not here on September the 7th. I mean, August the 7th. He was gone until the 9th. He didn't come back until the 10th. And when he asked me did I want to press charges, I said no because I didn't know who it was that came and beat me. They ran behind me while I was going inside my house. I was coming from the store. And they ran behind me and caught me and my daughter going in the house. But I've seen him and his friends stay right down the street from me. I say out MLK, out Washington Road. I mean, out by Washington High School and Washington Park Library. And when he found out what happened to me, he came from his brother's house and came and seen about me and his daughter. He didn't put his hands on me or his daughter. I gave the police officer his name for contact information. He been helping me heal and everything.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Looks like there was an eyewitness to this incident.
My neighbor, but he's out of town at the moment. But he
Yeah,
seen the dude when he ran
I'm sure
out.
the police will talk to him too.
Yeah, he seen the dude when he ran out.
That's
He
okay.
had short dreads in his head. Like it was on top of his head. Not long like my baby daddy. He had short dreads in his head. And he was brown skinned.
So when you reported that it was Mr. Vaughn who allegedly attacked you, did you go back to the police and change
Yes,
your
I
report?
did. He told me when I have a court date. He told me when they're gonna get back to me and contact me about a court date. But that day, the man had stole my phone, and my baby father had to get me a new phone.
Okay.
So I couldn't get in touch with the officer that took the report.
All right. Thank you, Miss Martin. You can mute your screen.
Okay.
Mr. McLean, anything to add?
Your Honor, my client is 24 years old. He's an electrician's helper, but he is currently unemployed. He is very local, having grown up in the Atlanta metro area, and we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond or whatever low bond it could go with. He will abide by court orders, he told me, and the living arrangements are, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Vaughn, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. But if you want to waive your right to remain silent, that's entirely up to you, but your attorney won't be happy with you.
I would be most unhappy.
Your Honor,
I suggest, Mr. Vaughn, I suggest that we deal with the bond setting as it is and not try the case today.
I think it's something about the bond.
I haven't said a bond yet.
no, it's about the job. Beside my electrical work, cause I'm a helper, but I've been getting up every day going job searching in person, but nobody has hit me due to my record. That's why I haven't been able to get a job fast enough. That's why I be had to do like side stuff, but I be had to take care of my daughter, my baby mama. So I don't be having enough money to have in my pocket to go through the program. And I also wrote it on the paper to my probation officer when I had just went to see her last month.
Okay. My concern is that the victim's alleged statement is so diametrically opposite to what was reported to the officer on August 7th. I'm not certain, but I do see in the warrant also that there was apparently an eyewitness who came to the victim's assistance. So if she is now claiming that somebody else attacked her, then I'm sure that's something that the prosecutors would like to explore with whoever they would like to go with. My concern right now is that Mr. Vaughn, this is the second time you've been arrested for a domestic violence situation in less than 24 months involving the same victim. That is not a good track record.
I haven't been there, man.
Your bond is set at $5,000. It is a surety bond. You're to have no contact with Dalia Martin. You're to stay away from, you can have third-party transfer of the child that you share with Miss Martin, but you are, your next court date is going to be September 19th. In addition, okay, since the other case has been null pros, this is now the only other case we're dealing with. Yes, Mr. Vaughn.
Man, I don't have anywhere else to go. I can't go to my mom's house, my sister's house.
Once you make bond, then you can go to your mother's house.
I can't.
Then I guess you'll stay at the jail.
My mom stays in a rumor house.
Then you'll stay at jail.
Why would I stay and I haven't did anything?
Oh, are you going to make bond? Then make sure you find another place to live and update the court with your new address within 30 days.
I'm gonna find, I don't have no access to no money. How I'm gonna find somewhere else to live? I don't have no access to no money. Don't nobody help me but myself, man.
All right, Mr. Vaughn, we'll see you on September 19th.
Come on, Bob.